make sure you put your oxygen mask on yourself first and then on your child. There are exits at the end of the plane and the front of the plane.
Yes.
It's so funny.
So, yeah. The other thing is, wherever you have a group of people, whether it's in a social setting, whether it's your colleagues at work or your friends at school or at a club or, at the gym, wherever you have a few people gathering, there's, the tendency is that there's going to be some gossip going around. And so, there's always this third-party information floating around in the interaction and the discourse of the group. A lot of these things are constantly twisted. Mm-hmm. So the same thing happens in a religious setting. When we have an ile, a house, where you have this religious leader there, and this person is dealing with so many people from different walks of life, with different genders, with different baggages, if you will, and you're going to be listening to gossips, and there's always going to be a little instigator. There's always going to be someone twisting stuff around. There's always someone playing games. There's always some mischief going on in the group. You see, so. Some are innocent, but some become malicious in their outcome. So let's not be so quick to let's not be reactionary, I think would be the best way of saying. Don't be so quick to be so reactionary and so opinionated, okay? Take the time to be that good listener, to ask the right questions, and try to reach your best conclusion as to how much validity does this gossip have. Let's weigh it, okay? Let's try to get into the fact-finding here before we're so quick to have an opinion and be reactionary. Let's think things through. In this religion, we commonly say, you know what, the best thing to do is think it through 3 times before you say and act. Don't just act. And part of this, we get it from culture and society that we're in. We're conditioned to be reactionary. Okay, we're reactionary. We really don't concentrate much on prevention. We're not really about preventing anything. We're not into that. We're reactionaries. As soon as something horrible happens, then everybody goes on an uproar. I mean, my God, look at our TV news. Breaking news. Everything is breaking news, right? Boop, 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 boop. All these blurbs start hitting you. Breaking news. Celebrity so-and-so just said this, and the other one said that. It's a constant. We're constantly the messaging is constantly coming at us in a way which is forecasting, predicting, speculative, and reactionary. Someone of importance says they're going to have a news conference. The media already days in advance is speculating of every possible scenario and every possible word that could be coming out of that person's mouth. It's like, why don't you just wait and listen? And then you can go off on your rhetoric, Oh, no. TV news itself is here, now, speculative, the anxiety of it. It's there. So we're constantly, unconsciously, the imaging is constantly selling us that bag of goods. Of this is the right behavior. This is how you're supposed to be thinking, because they're constantly triggering it in the messaging. All right? So we don't want to pass a law, or we don't want to engage in any safety issues as a matter of prevention. It's all about how many times has it occurred. Oh, well, then now we need to fix it. And then we usually go in a very radical direction. There's always that radical approach towards banning it, outlawing it, because it gives us self-satisfaction. Whether what we're banning is enforceable or not, it doesn't matter. But it gives you this illusion that you fixed the problem. Okay. It becomes reactionary. It becomes totally reactionary. So don't bring that baggage into a religious group. Try to be as less reactionary. Start rethinking how you behave and process information. Okay? That would be very helpful. That would be very helpful. And, don't feed into people in the group that you can quickly, readily detect that operate on this principle of just outright rhetoric and reactionary, that seem to based on superficial facts, be so speculative and reach conclusions based on even information that's really even third party in most instances. They're not even getting it from the source. It's hey, did you hear about this? No, because a friend of mine told me. Or did you hear this? I just heard it on the radio. Or I just read it on newsprint. Or a friend of mine just called me and told me. Those are little snippets of reality. Those are not realities. So we need to learn to step back and be that better listener. So that's also very important to bring into as a positive contributing a thing that you bring into a religious group, especially in our faith. We, from my own observations, we unfortunately highly lack, or shall we say, let me put it this other way, we are highly infected by this mundane toxic that the generation has been conditioned to think in that mode. Okay, so we need to be more aware of ourselves that way. But also, is the leader, is that priest, a person is operating in that state of thinking? Because if they are, we've got a little problem there. Because anything could become so misleading and viewed as fact that could very quickly impact your relationships with that religious elder or that religious counselor. So it's very, very important to also consider that, not by limited to the experience of the group that's part of this group leader, but the first thing is we have to look at the group leader, that priest, and look at what the behavior and the analysis and the critical thinking and how sound is this person, how well-rounded. I'm not saying everyone's perfect. We're not. Nobody's perfect. But we're trying to look at the most well-balanced person as possible, okay? If they are just thinking and operating on a level that is just as irrational and mundane as the people that are coming in for help, we've got a problem here. How can that leader, how can that priest really help people of that group to reach a higher state of being? How can we help? How can he be helping or her be helping anyone else to achieve those higher goals of and move away from the havoc, the chaos, and the problems that are caused by issues of lower ego. So we have to look at that ego. What's going on there? Okay, we've got to be able to do that, and that takes time. This is not something that you can conclude in a short period of time, in a short having a short time span of relationship with an individual. You really don't know. It's not enough. It's something that you have to observe over a period of time. So one of the things I'm also suggesting here is that all of these things do take time. It's not something that you can totally grasp in a short period of time. This is something you have to be evaluating and becoming more and more informed and more comfortable with over time. So this rush, if you will, or the tendency to quickly engage in the religion in such a vulnerable, unknowing way becomes very, very vulnerable, becomes very, very dangerous for people. So I'm saying, take your time. You're dealing with vintage here. You're not talking with cheap wine, okay? We're talking about vintage. We need to understand the process better. We need to engage it in better terms so that we have a more realistic outcome. So, long term is the key. Rarely does important, critical life issues go away in quick, short periods of time. Rarely can we make an adequate assessment of who that priest is as an individual, as a human, and as a priest. In short term, it takes long term. It's that simple, okay? So take your time, because this is a person that you're more and more becoming more and more trusting and more engaging and putting your life, critical issues, your important issues of life, you're putting your vulnerable spirituality in their hands via their guidance and their knowledge. It is that serious. And it is that transformational. So you really need to be as much on the same page as you can possibly be. Okay? And you can't also be that demanding, seeking that this priest or priestess needs to fit like a glove every expectations that you may come with. Because your expectations, just because your expectations are yours, it does not mean that they are realistic. So again, like in any relationship, there's going to be things that we can agree on, things that we cannot agree on, but there's a whole host of things that we're going to find common ground on, and that's what you build this relationship with. Okay? That's also significant. Do we have any other questions for now? I'll hold a minute.
I'm looking in chat room. I think that we're good. Ms. Paula, do we have anything on the KDCL media side where we have questions?
No, let me see here. Let me look at the switchboard. I have a Skype caller with their hand up. Did you have a question? Apparently not. We're good to go.
Yeah, nobody's hand is raised on my switchboard as well.
Akonsafi has a question. In your chat room.
Okay, go ahead.
Speak.
You're on the switchboard, right, sweetie? I know that you're on the switchboard. Do you want me to open up your line? Okay, I'm going to open up her line.
Okay.
Caller from 503-778. You're live on the air. Welcome. 503, you're live on the air. Hello.
Is that me?
Yes, it is.
That's you.
Oh, I didn't realize I was live on the air, but I do have a question. I've listened, of course, to Oba talking about this before, and I wish I had the information when I went through the process. But I'm left thinking, once you are in the situation and you didn't have Oba's direction, as all the community has now by being able to go on the website, what do you do when you find yourself with an unhealthy elder, a paranoid system, an Ile system where people have left, 40 people that are your elders in the community have left this Ile, and there's just paranoia and chaos, and you really need direction, and you really need to keep growing in your relationship to the Orisha, and yet you can't because your godfather or your godmother just has broken down the whole system, not only for you but other people. What do you do then?
Well, in my lifetime, I've seen numerous collapses of Iles. They've all collapsed, of course, for various reasons over time. And the ones that I'm thinking of right now that I can readily recall, were rather large in numbers. Okay, I'm thinking right off the bat, Iles that had 100 or more people, extraordinarily active. There are a lot of beyond the superficial. A question like yours, the first thing that I was taught to think of is that those are unusual occurrences. That it's like steam that's brewing, right? Until it boils and it pops, and so it takes time. Excuse me. It takes time to see these Iles collapse. So the dynamics of that are very interesting because they're not identical from one Ile to the next. You really need to be an insider to understand the facts. But generally, what I was taught to think of is not the superficial, meaning listening to what's going on, right? And the dynamics of the outer human relations and what's going on there. And like you said, for example, you used the word paranoid. That, to me, becomes secondary. I was taught to look beyond the superficiality of it. In other words, meaning I was taught that those subjects of conversation really are the symptoms of a greater ill. But it's not the cause, you see? It's the effects of, but not the cause. So, as an Obadiah to begin with, I was then trained to go like, okay, fine. I need to look at that elder, and I need to qualify the elder, not on the basis of the elder's outer, apparent, religious, mechanical knowledge. But I have to then get a better insight as to who is that priest, not the outer appearance and work experience of the priest. Two different lenses. And I always say, first and foremost, bring me the guy's ita, you see, his ita, his or her ita, because that is your human and spiritual DNA, your ita. And I often have found that the person's ita explains the cause of the present. It was predictable. And perhaps what appears to be a victimizer turns out to have been a victim in the first place, that turned victimizer not out of just simple free will, but became a victimizer out of their own ignorance. Or the fact that ignorance meaning they themselves did not have the appropriate foundation, and they got themselves in over their heads. And by getting in over their heads by erroneous precepts led to the collapse of the Ile, where then you have a large group of people that literally got victimized. Now, that's how I was taught to think and approach the subject that you're presenting. As far as you or anyone else or those that are consider themselves victimized by the victimizer, okay, also need to take a deep breath, because those that are part of the elect being victimized are so confused because they're the ones being bombarded and going through the living experience of the chaos or the principles driving the chaos, you see. So they need to just take a deep breath and step out, go back, step out, and begin to get a fresh look from the outside in, because you would be so engulfed in the inner that most likely incapable of seeing the reality for what it really is. You got to step back, take a breather, and then revisit, reflect, and look at it as I would as an outsider looking in, and not as an outsider in the middle of the confusion and chaos trying to understand what's driving this madness. Okay, so that would have to be done on the individual basis. The other thing I would point to in your question, which is a great question, is if you're a priestess or and it is your elder at the head of the chaos. Listen, the religious, our godparent is, like I said, a guiding force, a tool, an assistant, a good friend, a good priest, a good advisor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If the person starts going off the charts here, then there's no reason why you need to follow someone that's about to commit suicide. I don't think so. That's not your destiny. That's their destiny. They have to look at and understand their own individual destinies and understand why they are where they are and what the dynamics of that is. But if you're going off the charts, I don't have to jump off the bridge with you. I'm sorry. You see, that's not my destiny. That's not what I'm supposed to be doing in my lifetime. I've got my own DNA. I've got my own ita. I've got my own knowledge and responsibilities and issues to deal with in relationship to my orishas, what constitutes why I am, what I am, and what I'm supposed to be. That's where my source comes from. It's not the person, it's my orisha. So I have to understand that in that other context. You see, you have to draw a divide. And in that line, you also have to understand that the godparent is like a parent. It's like your parents. You learn. There's a foundation, if you will, that the parents contribute to the child. You see? But the contributions of the parent to the child does not constitute the whole. Now, does it? In real life. So the priesthood is not any different than real life, than real bloodline parents. These are your spiritual parents. It's not any different than your blood parents, is it? You have parents that go off the charts as well. And they just get crazy. And they start victimizing, you see? But then we have to understand why that happened to them. But that's not you, you see? So the thing is we have to understand, why am I being victimized? Why did this person become a victimizer? It's two sides to the story. We have to understand each in their specific context to understand the dynamics, what's being played here, and how to best safeguard ourselves and what directions we should be taking. How do we need to become more informed so that we're using the appropriate resources to stop the victimization? No one is expected to be victimized. It should not be. That should not be part of the expectation or the norm.
Caller, have you talked to your godparents? Have you had a conversation?
I personally have, and most of the people that were 12, 15 years, my, seniors that were god brothers and god sisters have too. And, this has been something that's going on for about a total of 15 years. So many of the people have really tried to stick it out, because I think most people are very, very serious about their priesthood, very, very serious about their relationship with their godparent. And I think it's come to an impasse many of those elders that were in my Ile have completely left. And now the person has brought in, godparent has brought in a whole new set of people and started all over again. And the people who have kind of stayed in between to withdraw and take that breath, as Oba has said, are sort of left out in the wasteland. And I don't think of myself as a victim, and I don't think the people who have sort of taken that breath do either. I think my question is very simple. How do I keep getting fed spiritually, take responsibility for feeding myself spiritually, not continuing this cycle of misuse of power or not a balanced leadership? How do I retain my balance, and how do I continue my evolution as a person? And I think we're told in our culture, in our Lukumi culture sometimes, not all the time, that we can never leave our godparent, that if we leave our godparent, in fact, I've sat in ETAs where people have been told if you ever leave your godparent, you will die, or something horrible will happen to you. And I've heard that over and over. So
okay, hold a moment on that point. Let me add something to that. I am an Obaoriate. I'm going to give you a real case. Not long ago, I was hired by another Obaoriate, much younger than I am. He ordained a young person. And he hired me to officiate. Because of my decision making, et cetera, which we won't get into, I said to the gentleman, I will only commit to coming in and doing the ita for the iyawo. I will not participate in anything else. So get another Obaoriate to handle everything else. I will only come in for the ita. And that's what I did. That's what I did. The first Odu that came out for this Iyawo was Eyobe, Eyonlemeyi, Baba Yobe. There is no other Odu, there are secondary Odus, but there is no other Odu that has the level of authority as that Odu has, as a senior Odu, when it becomes to that issue of whose authority, respectability to your elders, this very point that you bring up, you see? And it was interesting to me because the young Obaoriate now at that moment in the role of Godfather was very quick to cut me off when I began to interpret the Odu and to say to the Yawo, this Odu demands that you respect me for life. And it just went off using that same kind of language, if you will, that you just expressed. Let me tell you something. That Obaoriate could have never not been more off the mark, off the message. And I stopped it. And I said, I am extraordinarily just blown away by your ignorance as a godparent and as an Obaoriate. I cannot believe what I just heard coming out of your mouth. This Odu is in the Yawo's Ita. It is in a clear, sound, blessings, affirmed and reaffirmed by Elegba. What does Elegba's domain? What's Elegba's domain? So when there was another 3 Obas in the room, they were all edgy and wanting to start running their mouths, and I told everybody, I'm the elder here. You all shut up and learn to listen, because apparently you all have been taught wrong. Apparently you're so quick to talk now. Shut up. I told them to shut up. And I turned around and I said, yeah, well, what this Odu is saying to you is that mutual respect should be the guiding principle. However, what this Odu is saying to you, what this Elegba of yours is saying to you, is that you are destined to achieve things in life which have no common connection with your religious community nor your religious elders. You were born to be an achiever in a whole other realm. And it has everything to do with your current profession. And I even described his profession. To be honest with you, this is the first time I ever saw that what that Yavo even looked like. I just walked in and started doing the Ita. The Yavo, and I said, just say yes or no. Am I right or wrong? Are you in such and such a profession? And the Yavo said yes. I said, okay. I rest my case. Now, the Yavo in that profession. But this Odu O also speaks of Yavo when you were a child in your relationship with your parents. This Odu, it speaks about intolerances, about abuses coming from your own parents. Yavo, you've never been recognized for squat. Yavo, you've always been victimized, starting with your parents and your brothers and sisters. You've always been at the whip end of the stick. Okay, you've always gotten whipped for your slightest achievement. You've always been discouraged rather than encouraged. But you know what? And Legba says that from now on, you're going to reach and embrace your destiny, totally driven by your Orishas. They're going to put you in that seat of authority and in control of your lives. And it has absolutely nothing to do with religious practice, and certainly it has absolutely nothing to do with anyone in this room, and starting with your elder. Because you know why, Iyawo? This Odu says that your elder was born to sing Orisha songs, to officiate as an Obawariate, get his hands dirty, sacrifice chickens, and act like his ego don't fit in the room. But you know what? Your elder was born to do what he's doing. He's not going to grow anywhere else beyond what he's doing, and he's going to die this way, okay? That's it. The buck stops there. But that's not you, Iyawo. You were born to be something totally different. So, even your relationship with your godparent, this Odu is already saying, Iyawo, that you're going to move up upper mobility here is coming for you. And in a field that's totally unrelated to religion. That's where you're gonna grow, and you're gonna reach the peak of the mountain. It's totally achievable for you. If you do not allow godparents that are confused to ill advise you, like the mouth and stuff that I just heard here. I totally demoralized him and the other two Obadiates that were sitting there, because I was speaking facts. They were speaking nonsense. You see? So, those errors are made, and it's one of the things that I've pointed to throughout this whole program, okay? Let's not be confused by hierarchy, years, and none of that superficiality. Let's look at all the other traits that I've been talking about. Insofar as this example that I'm presenting, which is a real case, it speaks of respect. That's all. And like parents and child. Parents, the child grows up and becomes something greater than, if you will, or a greater achievements than their parents. Rather, your parents should be proud of that. Or are they parents that are these egomaniacs, which actually hinder the child's destiny and ability to achieve his utmost potential? That's also a thing. And you know what? How does the child reach his utmost potential? It doesn't all come from the parents. The parents are a contributing factor. But the ethical and moral standards of a human being don't particularly are isolated and only exclusively come from the parents. Knowledge does not exclusively come from parents. Children today know how to operate technology that parents don't even know how to start. You see? So, let's not twist our minds and be confused. The real world, our blood family, is a contributing but it's not the absolute. And we do get exposed to others in our lifetime that contribute, that build upon our knowledge and our human strength and our abilities and our skills. We build those things up through the contribution of many avenues that make contributions, not just one source. Priesthood is not any different. The elders also have to understand their place in relationship to the growth and the transformation and the achievements that their godchild are capable of doing. And they are supposed to be feeding that and helping them become the best they can to become those achievers that their DNA, that their Ita said that they can be because they were destined to do so.
Indeed, and Oba, we have another caller on the line, but before we take the next caller that's on the line presently, if you are with godparents, as Oba was just saying, we are based upon community. So open godparents, if you will, understand that not only will they be the teachers in your life, but there will be other elders who will contribute to your growth, just as we are doing right now, just as this elder is on this line. And if they are not open to that and they are in the control freak factor of your learning and your empowermentship, then one really needs to examine that. And one, as Oba has always said, one needs to divine and actually go to the Orisha to see if it is Eboda for you to leave where you are or for you to stay, because
to distance yourself or draw a specific line, a different line of relationship, and not a line of total absorption. We need to understand that children grow and they become from newborns to children, they become adolescents, they become adults, and they create families. Okay, we go through that kind of cognitive process in our own priesthood.
Indeed. So does that answer your question, caller?
It does, and I'd love to hear Oba talk on a future show more about how to leave peacefully and respectfully when you do have to leave. But I also just want to say thank you so much to both of you for providing such wisdom and gifts to the community over the last couple of years and really being there for those of us who need that voice of wisdom and reason. And I just can't thank you both enough for all your time and care for our tradition and for our community. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored by your words. Thank you.
Indeed, and thank you for calling in. And family, we are a family. Regardless of whether we all get along or not, we're all family, and this is what the A-Show Network and KDCL Media does and OBA does. So you are not alone. You are here. We are here, and we are all rowing the boat together. We have another caller on the line from 111, I believe. Hello, are you there, caller? Caller?
111.
111.
Come on, 111. Answer that phone.
There's nobody else on the line, Miss Paula?
No, we're good. We're all cleared up.
Good.
Okay, because there was someone in my chat room that said that they were on the line, and I asked them if it was a regular number, and it said, well, I guess you're still there. You're on KDCL Media's. Did you push one? Push one on your. They said they pushed one.
Okay. Well.
Hello.
Yes. There we go. Hello. Welcome.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sweetheart.
How you doing? This is Okun Sefi Yemaya, and I just wanted to say, Oba, thank you very much for all the words tonight of wisdom, and happy birthday to you. Bendición to you. Thank you so much for your contribution to our community, and the H2O Network. Thank you very much also for your contributions. It's I listen to a lot of your shows. I just had a quick question. Really, the question that I had was, because we kind of live in such a instant gratification society, there's a lot. I just see a lot of different things in the community as far as information is concerned. There's a lot of people that are disconnecting from traditional methods of learning and reading a lot of books and things like that and getting multiple sources to learn things. How can we really tell if we're going to somebody who's competent enough as a priest and somebody that may disregard the traditional means by learning? I know that there's a lot of elders also that are sometimes older that they're not really teaching as much. I mean, I know that, in the old days, really, you'd go to your Ile and you'd work all day just to hear Pataque, so, at the end of the day, and you'd memorize it on your way home kind of thing. And that's the way that it was a traditional type of learning environment. And nowadays, people are kind of disconnecting from that, and they're learning from books and other sources, and they're trying to just jump the gun because it seems like everybody wants to be top dog. And everybody wants to be something, that they're maybe just not competent enough to do. I was wondering your views on that subject.
Wow. That is a very profound conversation. I'll try to just give you a brief on it. That's probably a whole 3 programs right there. First of all, that's the first thing we don't want to do is presume that in the old days, which is where I come from, I lived it. That was my experience. I can speak to it. I come from that oral tradition. Well, we cannot presume that the overwhelming amount of Iles were knowledge centers, that their leadership were extraordinarily qualified and fit in terms of being teachers. And we cannot presume that to have been a fact, because it is not. What we do have, going back to the old days, based on my experience, is that we had many people which were just outright spiritually gifted and were mechanical robots, basically. And I'm not trying to use that language in a degrading way. I actually literally mean robotic in terms of their mechanical knowledge, which is monkey see, monkey do. They had the capacity to learn very well the processes and the procedures of things, and how things were constructed and done, and what orders and what the protocols were. In other words, they were great handlers. That does not make them a teacher or have the qualifications of being a teacher. This is why in the old days, someone who was already established and recognized by the community as an Oba Oriate, this is a person who was recognized as one who had a higher level, a more metaphysical, a more in-depth and profound knowledge than the priest or priestess handling a whole, or managing a house, if you will, managing an Ile, a group of people. It was beyond the knowledge of the madrina or the padrino. That's why the Oriate came in the door. And that Oba Oriate usually became the higher knowledge, the higher resource to tap into, even from the perspective of one's elders. When one's elders had issues to deal with, that was that house's Oba Oriate. That was the person that they would go to for higher understanding, more in-depth knowledge. So nowadays, that level, my level, if you will, that level of that status in the religious community has been totally degraded and prostituted. From my opinion, what I witness day in, day out, nowadays, this is a person for hire, not a quality, well-versed, well-knowledgeable, profound thinker that has all of these higher understandings of things beyond the mechanical, ritualistic things, you see? So this person, that status has degraded. It has dropped to just one more officiator, the same way you call other priests and priestesses to come in different roles to function inside the Ile during rituals and ceremonies. that's basically the same status that the Oba Ariote has become. It is no longer that honored and honorable rank, if you will, or level of living and being. You see, the Oba Ariote is no longer living the experience, the knowledge, and the lifestyle of those old traditional Oba Ariotes in terms of their morality, you see, and in terms of their expertise and knowledge, okay? Their value, there has been a total value shift here. That's my current observation in that decision. The same thing has certainly occurred in my observations in the priesthood order of Orunmila worship. In other words, what we commonly call Babalaos. I see that also, that problem among them. And if we look at this year's annual Odu, it goes straight to that conversation. And this is another program that we're going to be doing. It goes straight to that conversation. It strikes at it. And it's already happening. Just before we started the program, I had gotten 2 phone calls giving me 4 profound examples of things that just happened with 4 different Babalao houses, which are right smack in the negative of this year's annual forecast. Okay, which just evidences it, it reveals it and concretely makes the case of the Odu in a negative sense. So we're having all of these problems, right? So we cannot presume that everyone had, nor do they currently have that in-depth, and nor do they have the teaching qualities. So it is up to what I'm proposing in this conversation, Abure, is that we need to as a community draw the line, and drawing the line means what this annual Odu says for us to do. That's what Olofing is telling us to do via the Fa annual Odu this year. It's speaking of people need to step back, take a deep breath, reevaluate where they stand, and draw a line between nonsense and what is tradition. Now, the Internet, of course, and these kinds of social network tools are very positive. They are major contributors in the construct of access, of massive information, of distribution, and so on and so forth, that reaches the masses in a more uniform and broad way. But it has also contributed very negatively. There are a lot of downsides to this, and also the books. The old folks, those before me, okay, used to do somersaults if when you spoke to them about writing something down and turning this religion into a literary, which is what we have today, okay? Because they were already foreseeing it, and I take my hats off to their wisdom. They were foreseeing the chaos, the knowledge chaos that we're seeing today. That in itself is a long program, a long conversation. How did those elders that I learned from, which were pioneers of this faith in the United States, these were the originators, the makers and shakers, the ones that created the religion in this country. That's where I come from. That's my house. And that was my time, if you will. Still is, because I'm not dead yet. But those teachings, and they were so on point. They were so on point. We haven't had that conversation either. And I think that's part of the conversation that we need to have, that would contribute in a positive way.
Oba and family, we have 10 minutes left, and I tell you, this time goes by so fast. Thank you, caller, for calling in. Please do call back so we can hear the sound of your voice. May Yemaya always bring you blessings and peace and prosperity. We send you love, family. It's been an awesome show, Oba. I always enjoy sitting and listening to my elder, Oba Ernesto Pichardo. I want to thank you for all your wisdom. I think, I don't know if y'all feel like this, but I know I feel like this. This is probably one of the most important shows that we have done to date, because we have an issue going on, and we need to start using our critical faculties.
Yes.
To really take a good look without an emotional basis, but from critical thinking standpoint about our spiritual lives. This is the Odu of the year.
Yep.
We have got to draw the line in the sand as individuals, as a community, and as a world collective, where we stand spiritually. What do we want? You need to look in the mirror, family. If there are Leos out there, which I know that there are, who are listening to this program, and even my other family members in the Red tradition, the Peruvians, if you want a mentor, a spiritual mentor, period, you need to look at yourself in the mirror and be honest with yourself. What do you really want?
Mm-hmm.
You can't answer those questions. You're not ready to select a godparent. You have to know what you want. You have to be observant. I hope that everyone took in the essence of what Oba Ernesto Pichardo has said tonight, because it is very much important. Your consciousness is what helps you open the door to many things. Your consciousness is like a child. We pay more attention to buying a car than we do the nurturing of our spiritual development.
Ashe.
It makes no sense, family. You do more research on buying the pair of shoes down the street at Liz Claiborne that you do than taking care of your consciousness and who is going to nurture that. Your consciousness is like a child, family. Olofin is standing up this year. Yemaya, Ogun, Oya, and Orumila. We have to pay attention, family, or else Orisha is going to open up a can of we don't know what. We have an opportunity to change our lives into something different. Now that you, as they say in Obaramei, now that you have the information, you know, because now you're not walking in unconsciousness. Now that you have the knowledge of the know, now you can do better. Now you are being held accountable. So I hope that you have taken this information tonight, you put it in your spiritual tool bag, you go back, you take notes, you go to the CLBA website. Family, make sure that you connect with us. We are all family, whether you like it or not. Connect with me, Dia Nunez, DIANUNEZ, KDCL Media, Paula, and also Oba's on Facebook. Just type in our names in the search engine. And we are there for you. Email us. Let us know what is going down. Also, remember, on Saturday, family, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are finishing the Odu of the year with Miami in Espanol. Make sure that you look on the website so you can keep up to date with that. I will be posting those links on my profile page and KDCL Media's profile page and also Oba's page. Miss Paula, do you have anything that you'd like to say, girlfriend, before we head out of here?
Okay, you say we're doing the Spanish one on Saturday.
Oops, thank you. You're always correcting me on Sunday.
Okay,
girlfriend,
I thought I was confused.
It's Sunday, family. Excuse me, I renege. It's Sunday at 8:30 p.m. So make sure you keep a lookout. Are there any more announcements, Miss Paula, that I might be missing?
Not that I can think of. Oh, yes, if you're interested in the scholarship for the Center for Community Knowledge, the deadline is Monday to get your applications in.
Indeed, and also to add to that, not only do we have the scholarship, we have the Warriors that is coming up, and we also have some other classes coming up. Make sure you go to CCK on our fan page and look at what classes are coming up, because there are a lot of cool lectures and classes coming up. Oba, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the family before we head out of here?
Well, I love everyone, and thank you for having this opportunity to reach. It is an outreach that we're doing here out of religious mandate, not just simply free will. We're sticking to the principles that the Odus present, which are for the whole society, not just our individual. We're trying to meet our own, mandates and being consistent with what we worship as best we can. And I just hope that, in a year like this one, that it's very being specifically saying we need to look at the fact that Olofin is saying this is an Odu where people that were on the right side of Orisha worship have crossed over more and more and more into the mundane, into bad character. This is something that's crucial, is extraordinarily important. That's Olofin's message. We need to pay attention to that. And if your elders or anyone else that you know has made that crossover where they abandon religious truth and its tenets, its principles, and its essence, and they're abandoning it and crossing over into the mundane, I don't care if it's your elder, whoever it is, you do not need to follow that. Follow the light. We worship Oloru, the sun. And as we say in Lukumi, Ki Oloru Akoko Ibere. When the sun comes out, it comes out for everyone, not just your elders. So think about this and follow that light wherever it is. Do not cross over.
Ache, and this is coming from the HO Network, KDCL Media, CLBA, and the Center for Community Knowledge. We love you all. Miss Paula, Oba, and me, Dia Nunez, we send you lots of love. Know, family, that you do have a choice. You do have free will. You do have the tools. And if anyone is telling you that the elders are not teaching, that is a farce. There's an elder on the line who is teaching now. Open your mind, open your heart. The tools are in front of you. Let's all come together. Email us, family. If we don't get back to you right away, be patient. We will get back to you as soon as we can. And as I always say, family, live happy and be happy. We send you so much love. What I wish for myself and the rest of my family, I wish for you. You are my family. I am Lukumi. Until next time, bye-bye.
Kawade ala kweru mariwo ade oja iye kwa oye mfile konfoya o kawade ala kweru mariwo oya ike kwa o ike kwa ejesile Kawade ala kweru mariwo ade oja iye kwa